Hello, I am Rachel with Rachel Morgan Coaching, and today I have Isabel from Virtually Isabel here with me. For those who don't know who Isabel is, she is a social media manager for coaches who focuses on helping them sell through their social media platforms, mainly on Instagram and Pinterest. When she was 14 years old, she started writing blogs and absolutely fell in love with the process of that. And eventually she learned how to sell on Pinterest and use that to help drive traffic to her blog. Over the years, she fell further in love with marketing and started a YouTube channel and learned more about the power of Instagram and Pinterest as a result. So when she's not managing social media profiles, she also actually works as a nurse, which is so cool, and we appreciate you. Seriously, Isabel is such a hardworking person, so I'm excited to have a bit of her time here today to chat and really to kick off 2022. I'm really excited for this conversation. It's how to sell on social media, which is something we all want to know and get better at. It's one that's also near and dear to my heart. So without further ado, let's get Isabel on here. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all those that are hopping in. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. So anyone that is listening now, definitely feel free, please leave a comment below if you want to make sure that we answer anything that comes up and address it for you. And Isabel, if you could just tell us, where are you from? Where are you joining?
Hi. Yes, hi. I'm currently in the UK. It's so dark outside. It's literally 6 p.m. So, yeah, tell me, guys, where are you from? Let me know in the comments. Tell us.
Yes. For me, I'm just starting my day. It's 10 a.m., so it's nice and bright out, but it definitely gets dark quite early here in Seattle as well, so I completely understand. Well, Isabel, we all want to know like how to sell on social media, right? It's such a hot
Yeah,
topic,
exactly, we
right?
do.
We want those sales. So I would love, before we even talk about how to do so, like what does it actually mean to sell, in your opinion? Like what is sales from a
Yeah,
social media?
I think we have so many misconceptions about selling. When we think about selling, we see all these salesy businessmen. And I think 2020 has really changed that because a lot of businesswomen have stepped up. We have a lot of coaches, a lot of people who help other people. And that's selling to me. You want to serve, you want to help other people get better and take some work off their plate, no matter what you do. And I think we really need to establish that type of mindset, really, don't we?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it's so beautifully said. Like, I don't think I could have said that better myself. It really, selling is about serving, right? And it's a communication. It's how we talk to the people that we're dealing with. It's how we're helping them. It's the intention, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I see we've got someone from Italy. Yay.
Yeah, exciting.
Yes, I would love to go to Italy. That is a place.
Oh,
That is
me
my
too.
Have you been before since you're in the UK?
No,
No. Oh, I'm
we need
surprised.
to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, tell me then, like, what are some things that you think from a social media standpoint, like, what should we be doing to be really intentional when we're selling on social?
Yeah, I guess in on Instagram especially we had so many changes, but I think you really need to have a strong foundation when it comes to your sales mindset and also how you approach people. You don't want to go in and send them cold DMs or pitch to them straight away. I don't know if you can relate to that, but I hate when people send these weird messages and I just want to delete them because I know I'm not going to buy from them or sign up for their like newsletter or webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. You said two things here I want to circle back to. You said, first of all, it's really important to have like a strong foundation in your mindset when you're selling. So tell me, what do you mean by that?
It's important that you look after yourself and that you get yourself into this mindset of I'm getting to serve people and not, oh, I'm scared nobody's going to buy from me if I talk to them in the DMs or if I show up on stories. You really need to be able to stand behind your offers and yeah, just to embrace it because it's fun to sell, especially if they sign up. And if not, you always learn a lesson.
Right. One of the first things I know I work with on my clients is mindset around sales, because usually it's what holds us back from having conversations. And it really is about like why you're doing it to begin with. And oftentimes I find that it comes down to money and how we view money in our lives. And, like afraid to talk about certain prices because we perceive it as being more, right? Or less. Like its value to us is how we talk about it too. But it is really important that you understand why you're selling and the point of it. And it is fun. Like sales should be fun because you get to help someone. Like how rewarding is that? It's probably why you started a business, right?
Exactly. And I remember I've been where everyone has been. I was scared of selling. And then my first coach, I remember she told me, do a sales challenge, sell to 5 people. I got rejected 4 times, but I made one sale, and that was a long-term client. So don't be afraid to sell because it's definitely part of the business and of the journey. No sales, no business.
Right. What a fabulous challenge. I love that. And I think it just goes to show, like, just because you get a no, like, don't give up. Like, someone is out there and is ready to say yes to you. Even if the other four weren't, like, you never know when they will be, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And another thing that you brought up was these cold messages. And I feel like we hear this term a lot. We don't like to think that we would ever do that, right?
Mm.
In your opinion, what is a cold message?
Well, there are different ways of cold messaging. I'm sure everyone had these, hey girl, want to sign up for my freebie without further interaction, like without any interaction before, just that. But also, if you come into the conversation and it's like, hey, how are you doing? What are you working on? Do you want to buy my product? You don't know if they want to buy your product. You don't know if they need it.
Right. Right. Exactly. And hi, Michael. So to me, right, sales is or a cold DM is really when we are messaging someone coldly and blindly, right? So maybe you haven't had a conversation with them ever before. And maybe and by conversation, I don't mean simply, hey, I'm Rachel. It's nice to meet you, right? It's about having an actual conversation where you've got to know each other. Maybe you haven't even followed each other for long. Maybe they happen to fit like your niche, so to say, right? And so you're sending them a message and you're like, hey, I have this offer. I think you
Mm-hmm.
are perfect for it. Here's all the reasons why you should sign up, right? So it's like blindly messaging someone without having any kind of connection, right?
Yeah,
Or
that
even
puts
if you
people
have,
off.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I said that puts people off, and then they build up this wall and they don't want to have to do anything with you.
Exactly. Yeah. And uh, in your words, like, why do you think that is such a turnoff?
Because you don't want to be sold to, you want to make this decision actively. There are so many different ways of how people perceive a sale, and everyone buys differently. Like for me, I always have to read like all the testimonials. I have to go through their sales page at least 10 times before I buy. And somebody else says, oh, I have a good feeling about this person, I want to buy from them. But these cold TMs, nobody likes them, and they just destroy the trust, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes perfect sense, right? So nobody likes to admit that they need help, especially from
Yeah.
someone you don't perceive as an expert. And so when you're sending these messages blindly, like cold messages that you're immediately selling, right? You haven't established yourself as an expert. So of course someone's going to feel uncomfortable when you're like, "Hey, I see you have a problem and I have the solution for you," right? Because first of all, like that's a really big assumption. How can you like you're assuming that they actually need you, right?
Mm.
Or you're assuming that you can that they're even struggling, like you never know what's happening behind the scenes or what maybe they are working on that or maybe
Mm.
they're aware of it but they don't have the resources in order to take care of it. Like there's so much more that can happen and that's where conversation comes in, right? So you're absolutely
Definitely.
about trust. Yeah. So what are some other things that you recommend that we don't do when selling with intention?
Let's have a look. I wrote some things down. I'm so bad with lives. I always forget I get brain fog. So give me a second.
You had a fast,
Um,
I have to say.
I know. So one thing that really annoys me is when people copy others, like word for word. I don't mean, you can get some inspiration from others. Like I do it all the time. My last post, I shared 20 Instagram story ideas. A lot of people have done this, but I used my own story ideas. I just used the post idea, but I hate when people copy word for word because it doesn't work. What works for you won't work for me because you have a different target audience.
Right. I always like to think too, like when we're copying other people, what if we don't fully understand what we're copying? And right, when we're talking about people buy from people they perceive as an expert that can help them, if you can't speak to what you're actually copying or posting or putting out there, that's going to affect your reputation and how they perceive you, right? So it's actually really important that what you're creating is in your own words with your own thought process and something that you would actively say, like you said. like a story prompt. Like you are actually creating those story prompts from your own experience and what you would recommend. So when someone reaches out, you can have a conversation around it.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And what else? I know she had such a beautiful list, you guys. I was so impressed. It made my heart so happy. She sent me a few things. Like, it was so good. So what else, in your opinion, should we avoid?
Yeah, like I said that, and I just want to add, like, on the contrary, really, the people who you have bought from, those were the people who were unique, who were interesting, who didn't copy. Like the people I bought from, I've never seen their content anywhere else. I'm sure they took inspiration from others, but the way they packaged it and the way they spoke to me, it was kind, it was with intention, and I know I can trust that person. So show up with your personality and, add your own spin to everything you do because that will make you stand out.
Yeah, that's a really fabulous point too. You think about who you bought from, right? Have they been copying, or do you trust them for a different reason, and why? And be a little reflective on that. So
Definitely.
yeah, and for anyone
And
training now, definitely if you have questions, share them with us. We'd love to know where you're from as well. So, hi everyone. But go ahead as well. I'm
so
sorry.
exciting. No, no problem. And also tell us what makes you buy from someone. We're curious about that too.
Yeah, I love that. That's a fact. Yeah. So tell me, I know another thing that you said is oftentimes we struggle with sales when we're not consistent. So tell me more what you mean by like consistent. I feel like it's kind of a buzzword. It's one that we use often, but what does it actually mean in your opinion?
Well, the thing is, everybody talks about consistency, right? But consistency doesn't necessarily mean you have to show up constantly. You don't have to post 6 times every day, well, every week. 6 times every day is a bit much. And if you can't do that, you don't have to show up on your stories every single day. Consistency means being consistent with your messaging, with your branding, and with your values. If I tell you, sign up with me for Instagram management because that's the only way to grow, and then tomorrow I tell you, ditch Instagram and we all have to hop on TikTok, that's not very consistent, if that makes sense. So definitely stick to your values and communicate them clearly because we don't need overcomplicated ways of sharing our offers and messages. We need to be simple and use, yeah, effective ways to sell.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is such a strong takeaway. Consistency doesn't mean constantly. Ah, that's so good. I'm gonna have to write that one down. It's so great. And consistency doesn't mean consistency in posting. It can just be consistency in your message, that you're true to who you
Mhm.
are and your values and what you're trying to communicate to your audience. So, so
Absolutely.
taking mental notes here as you're talking. I love it. So, I know another thing that for me, I usually recommend all my clients do is not to ask probing questions immediately.
Mm.
So often we want to jump right into the business conversation. And so I usually recommend that you lead with something non business. So a conversation that has nothing to do with business. So, like the weather, family, pets, travel, hobbies, that sort of thing. Because just like you said with a cold DM, when we're probing immediately and saying, hey, what are your business goals? It gives off the same vibe and same feeling. It feels icky and kind of gross. And
Mhm.
you're not positioning yourself as an expert. It actually sounds like your intention is to find out and you're qualifying people, right? And
Exactly.
you're just trying to sell them. So whatever you say after that feels disingenuous.
Mhm. It definitely does. And from your perspective as a sales coach, when do you think is the best time to introduce business into the conversation?
Well, so from my experience, we used to have this saying three before the key. So always ask three questions before you even mention
Mm.
recommendation, because I used
Mhm.
to like work in jewelry, right? So we would use a key to open up the cases. So that's where that
Mhm.
came from. Um, but I wouldn't like hold yourself to just three, but I think you should establish yourself, like get to know the person. Where are they from? How did they get started in their business? What do they like to do? Engage with their content a little bit, like get to know the person. I mean, again, we don't want to like assume that they actually need our help, right? That's like
Mm.
the worst thing you can do is assuming that they need you. And how do you know that they're not already working with someone on it? So I think you have to have a little bit of a conversation, and eventually, like, if they are struggling, that kind of comes out, right? People will tell you things when they start to trust you. So really the aim is to start building trust through questions and engaging with their content, and then ask, right? Like, say, hey, I noticed you've been struggling with this. Like, tell me more about that. right? Like be genuine. Like think about like a friend. Are you immediately going to ask them what their problems are or their concerns? They kind of ease into it. I mean, it depends on the situation for sure, but
Hmm.
um, I would get to know the person.
Absolutely, because maybe they don't vibe with you, they want to work with someone else, maybe they're not ready to acknowledge that they have a problem. You never know what's going on in their life. And I think you mentioned earlier, maybe they don't have the financial resources,
Mhm.
maybe you charge too much for them. That's perfectly fine. Not everyone can pay your prices, and then there wouldn't be an ideal client for you, anyways.
Right. All the people that I've hired, it's someone I've gotten to know because I know that they have my best interest in mind and
Hmm.
I trust that. And especially when we're asking people to make investments in us, right? And trusting that we can do a good job for them. Like you have to show them through conversation and building trust and relationships.
Absolutely, especially with so many scammers out there, you really need to establish yourself as a person people can trust. And you also want to work with people who you know. I mean, that's the beauty of having your own business. You can actually choose who you work with.
Right, right. All right. So, question.
All right.
Maintaining public Does maintaining healthy public relations increase the frequency of their buying routine at all? So, I'll let you answer that first.
That's interesting. What do you mean with healthy public relations?
That would be my question as well. What do you exactly like? What is public relations to you, and what do you mean by maintaining it? Um, any thoughts on that though before clarification?
Well, I guess one thought is that if I have a healthy relationship with someone and I buy from them, I tend to buy from them again. I've done this before. I invested into someone and then that was a low ticket offer. And because I got a lot of value from that and a lot of value from that person, I invested in the higher ticket offer. So, yes, definitely having good relationships with the people you want to buy from is a good idea because then they come back. I don't know if that helps.
Right.
Let me know.
Right. So I guess it depends. Like, are these public relations with leads? Are they with your
Mm,
community? Are they with people that have already bought from you? I mean, I'm all for nurturing. I think, like you said, it's really important to maintain the conversation and check in with people, especially if they purchase with you. See how they're doing and see like are they struggling? Like, did you actually help them with what they're going through, right? And um, so I think it is really important. And if you really do come from like this place of wanting to build a community and serving, like wouldn't you naturally kind of do that anyways, is like to maintain this healthy like image, right? I guess I would need more information before I answer that fully. But yes, I agree with you. I think that when people keep in touch with you, you're more likely to purchase from them again.
definitely.
Yeah. Um, anything else that you feel like we have to avoid? Because now we want to go into like all the things we have to do, right?
Yeah, let me just check one thing. Stop
Yes.
comparing yourself.
Mm.
Honestly, that's such a killer. If it doesn't matter your content, your stories, don't compare yourself to other people because you have a different personality, you're at a different stage. You just have to go out there and start selling, start creating content, and start showing up because that's the only way you can actually build those relationships and make the sales in the end. Let me know your thoughts on this, Rachel.
Yeah, I think, we so often, especially when we're new, we see these really established accounts and we're like, gosh, I want to be them. But what we don't realize is they've been in business for 3, 4, 5 years, maybe even longer, right? And so I heard this quote once, and I think this is exactly what you're saying is, don't establish your beginning with someone else's middle. And
Mm,
and that's where the comparison game gets really hard. And I think we're really hard on ourselves. And it is not easy being an entrepreneur. I think you can agree, right? Like everyone has tough days. It's just how it goes, right? Like and so when we compare, I think it doesn't keep our mindset in a healthy and positive place either. Right. And I think you should compare against your own self, where you were to where you are now. And it's so easy to get caught up in the moment and not realize how far you've come, you know?
definitely.
Right.
We got another question.
Yeah, Sophie, did you actually help them? Love this. I've made it with my free consultation also, but in paying clients it's even more important. Right. Yeah. I mean, actually, this is a good point. this is something I would recommend you don't do when selling with intention, is to give up just because someone said no on the first attempt.
Mm.
Because you never know when they're going to be ready to say yes. And I have, without a doubt, been surprised over the years who will come back even a year later just because I was nice and I took the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was one of your points as well, not to give up on the lead just because they don't sign up straight away. They might come back a year later or two when they have the funds, or they think, oh, actually, I do need that person in my life right now.
Right. And that could simply be because you were nice, right? I think
Hmm.
when we're researching the solution, right? Though people do take notice of the impressions that you give out and the feelings that you give them. And if you come from this place of serving and being nice,
Hmm.
genuine and conversation and talking and still being the same person, regardless if they said yes or no, people don't forget that. And sometimes they have to go through this process of finding a bunch of people. But if you were the only one that was nice, they're going to remember that. They're going to be back.
Absolutely, definitely.
Yes. Oh, Michael, without a no, there could be no yes. No's help me see where yes could come from.
Absolutely, I love that. That's amazing. That's the right mindset. That's what we need to do when we sell.
I agree. All right. Now, the juicy part. We all want to
Yes.
know what your content on Instagram, right? So I would love to know from your standpoint, what should we start doing?
Let's talk about the easiest way, but the most important one. Show personality. Show up with who you are. Like I share my coffee, I share my nursing on my stories. I share that I'm an introvert and that I do get anxiety sometimes, and that resonates with people. I don't know, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think that there is a time and place, right, where some personal things we're not going to share, like maybe some drama that you're having with your family or your
Hmm.
friends, but the day to day, like drinking coffee, or maybe you're stressed out about a situation, like I think it shows like you're relatable. Like,
Absolutely. And we need to show that more because we see so many people who show this picture perfect life, but we all have technical issues. We all have things that we struggle with, and we need to be honest about that. And don't get me wrong, I don't want you to go on your stories and just share your coffee pictures all day long. You have to give people value, you have to sell, obviously, but give them something that they can relate to. Show them your pet, or I don't know, where you live, because that can be interesting to people.
right. It's helping you establish like a common interest that you are a human and you have things that you enjoy as well. And it's here's like the two extremes, right? Like you could, like you said, always be posting about all the things in your personal life, and maybe it's really negative, right?
Hmm.
Or maybe you're always really positive, right? Like, obviously, like there's never any problem, right? And that can also hurt you as well. So sometimes it's good to have a little mix, like you're saying, like a little balance.
Definitely, because otherwise people they won't buy from you. They see you either at a girl from next door who's always nice or a negative Nancy who they don't want to interact with.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with being all positive, I should say. Like, I think if you're like, I'm really working on my mindset, so I come from this really positive place, like, say that, right?
Definitely.
Because it's something that you are going through, that you're working on, that you're conscious of, right?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And that shows something that people maybe want to aim to be. I may want to work with a very positive coach. I don't want to work with a coach who's
Right.
super into like getting me to sell to 25 people every day, if that makes sense. So
Oh,
yeah, showing personality is definitely something that will move the needle forward.
right. Yeah. And then what else would you recommend that we start doing?
Let's be intentional about our content. I think content is the meat of what we do on Instagram, anyways. Without content, why are we even on Instagram? And when you create your content, it's super important that you ask yourself, is this serving my ideal client? And is this serving me? Because if you only post tips and tricks, then people don't see you as an authority and they won't buy from you. But you also have to give them something because otherwise they think you only sell to them. So you really need to find that balance between how can I help them and how can I help myself, because you want to make money, you want to pay your bills. So you need to start selling on Instagram.
Right. Oh, you guys are sharing so many amazing ideas. Definitely going.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us. Reach out to both of us when you do. We want to hear about it. Um,
Definitely.
I think you're right. I so often, what is the intention? of posting something. Like what is the message we hope our audience gets from it, right? Like obviously we need to make money. We want to position ourselves in a place where we're selling, right? So what was the intention? Like if I I actually listened to a workshop yesterday and we were talking about, if we're posting our desk, right? Why are
Mm.
we sharing our desk? How does that help our community? Like why, right? And not to say that's a terrible post, but to make sure that we're explaining our reasoning behind it and that there's a reason for it, right? And sometimes those type of posts are better in stories, in my opinion, because it's almost like a behind the scenes for people to connect with you.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to be really careful what you put on your feed and what you put on your stories. Stories are more to connect with people and for people to actually get a look behind the scenes. And in your post, you really want to be intentional, give them something to take away. If they save your post, that means they will come back to it. That means they will interact with you again. And that establishes more trust in the long run.
Ugh, that was so well said. Your post is meant to serve as a way for your audience to have something to take away from, right?
Definitely.
Changes the intention of why we're posting and what we're posting about.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you just post a post, like, what's the point? You put so much time and energy in your graphics and your captions. They need to serve you and they need to serve your audience in some way.
Right. Oh my gosh. Everything you're saying, I'm like, wow, this is so good. Like, I'm inspired, right? I love it. I love picking your brain on all this. All right.
Thank you.
What else should we be doing? I feel like you had another point.
Yeah, a very important one. I think you'll agree with me on that one. That's to promote your offers. We
Mm,
have to promote our offers more. There are so many people out there who have amazing offers. I didn't even know about them because they never speak about them on their stories or on their feed posts. So it's really important that you schedule that in your content plan, whether that's in your story content plan or in your post content plan. You need to sell.
right. So I think so often we are afraid of putting it out there because we feel like we're being annoying, right? So how do you recommend bringing up your offers and your stories and your post?
I love creative ways of selling. I love to show a good case study. I like to share a testimonial, screenshots of DMs. The best way I think is video testimonials, but I know a lot of people are very shy. So, give them something in return so they give you a video testimonial because these are the best ways for your other people to see, all right, she knows what she's doing. I want to buy from her. And get into the habit of it. If you're scared to sell on stories, just film yourself. You don't have to post it at first. Do that for 7 days and then, challenge yourself to sell once, then twice. Baby steps. You can do this. I'm sure you teach that too, don't you, Rachel?
Um, Baby steps, yes. That's a hot tip right there. If you're afraid to show up on stories, just video yourself on your phone and try it out. And honestly, that's what I do every time. And sometimes I have to film it like 5 times in order to make sure my delivery is right. And then when I feel good, it gets uploaded, right? There's no shame in that. You're still doing something, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And what I'm really hearing is that in order to sell, like social proof is really important. And for those that don't understand what social proof is, it's any kind of proof of your knowledge or what you do, without you kind of saying it, right? So through like a testimonial or research or a case study, it's proving your point without it like you literally saying it.
Yeah, because I can tell you, oh, I made 6 figures last year, but how do you know that? Or I helped my clients make 6 figures last year. How will you know that? But if they tell you and if I show you numbers, that's a lot more trustworthy, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. I see a lot of service providers in the space and product-based business owners as well. Like they are constantly taking screenshots of their like bank accounts or when they their reports and whatnot, right? And showing like, hey, I actually did make this. This is what this actually looks like. But I've also been at this maybe for a while, right? Like it doesn't happen in 5 months.
Exactly. It takes time. Otherwise, everyone would do it if it was easy.
Right. It's yeah, and I think give yourself some credit. It's not easy to be an entrepreneur. Everyone would be doing it if it was easy.
Hmm.
And so give yourself
Exactly.
back for doing the hard thing.
Definitely. I really love that. We need to do that more. We should do that in 2022. Make it a resolution as a business owner to celebrate your wins every week.
Right. Oh, I love that. We often celebrate our clients, but do we celebrate ourselves, right?
Sure. Yeah.
maybe it's celebrating each month is reflecting on everything you've done, right? And celebrating in that way. I don't know. There's so many ways you could do that. I
I
feel like
know.
conversation.
That's true.
Yes. Well, I would say from a sales coach perspective, something that I would recommend that you do is like lead with introducing yourself and sharing a name, because your name is one of the most important things about you, and it's something that somehow creates like a really positive feeling when someone uses it. So think about like when you go to a hotel or a bank and they usually reference you by name, it just gives off this like really VIP feeling. And when people have this positive feeling with you, they're more likely to trust you as well. And it's better than that, hey girl, hey, because it sounds like they don't know your name. Like you're just a number, right? So when you're like, when you can actually speak to people by their name, it goes a really long way.
Definitely.
Right. And so you'll notice, and I genuinely do this because I want to know everyone in my community. Like I will comment back to them using their name, especially if they leave a comment on my post or if they send me a DM. Like I really try to reference people by names. My tip though for you, if you're like, how do I get a name from someone, right? Like usually people have it on their profile. And if you don't know how
Yeah,
to pronounce it, say it. Say, hey, I want to make sure that I call you by the right name. Can you tell me how to pronounce it? People really appreciate that. It's so uncommon.
definitely. Especially when people have an uncommon name. If you put in the effort, that goes such a long way.
Right. Trust me, no one else is doing that. So
I
that is
know.
you'll differentiate yourself. Like think about
Yeah.
that. Like when's the last time you went somewhere and someone was like it said, "Hey Isabel, how are you?" Like actually like used your name.
Yeah, I can't remember to be honest. It's usually hey girl, hey, or
Yeah.
hey, they copy my name and then because like I have my name and then a line and then it says social media manager and then they just copy that and the line. So that's just not genuine, is it?
I actually got a message, oh gosh, maybe like a month or two ago, and someone didn't even change the name. And
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
I know who that is, but that's not me.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yay. She said, Nisha said, responding to comments using their name. I'm so doing that from now on. Yeah. Let me know how.
Oh,
I love it.
I
I
think we
mean,
should all do that from now on. Let's
yeah.
make it a challenge. Use
Yeah.
people's names.
You got two challenges now today. Sell to five
Mm,
people and use someone's name in your response. I love it. Well, and I will say, like, every sentence you say should not have someone's name. Like, that is an overkill. But you
that's
use
weird.
it right. And what else would you add to that? What else do you feel we should do from a social media standpoint?
We really need to be genuine and focus on building a community that becomes more and more relevant, especially in 2022. So go out there, introduce yourself, use their name, and get yourself known, but be nice, be genuine, and serve. And also, collaborations are super important. I think they're going to be your main driver in 2022 because people want to see what you're up to and who you were, who is in your network, basically.
Mm-hmm. I actually was doing some research yesterday on what to expect for 2022, and partnerships and collaboration are hot right now. And I think because you can see personality, right? And similar interest, and it opens you up to more possibilities, right? Because of the other businesses network. And I feel like you learn, like I'm learning today from you, so
Yeah,
I
and
think,
I'm learning from you.
oh, I love it. Yay. So collaboration is a powerful thing. I'm with you on that.
And with Instagram, it's amazing. Now you can collaborate on your carousel posts, you can collaborate on your reels. And I think Instagram is launching lives where you can have up to 4 people on a live. So you can even collab with more people, which is absolutely amazing. So I think we definitely need to focus on that a lot, but make sure it's a person that actually helps your audience. So a sales coach like Rachel will definitely help my audience to sell more. And don't just collaborate with random people. They have to serve your audience.
I agree. That is a really fabulous point, that your collaborations should be mutually beneficial for both parties, right? Like you should be in a similar mindset together. You should share a similar vision. You should have similar ideas. Like it shouldn't be completely random. I mean, it could be if you have like a similar, right? But yes, absolutely. Yes. And then I would say another thing to just to kind of wrap it up is one thing I usually work with my clients on is asking questions. I know we touched on that earlier, like having non-business conversations, but really making sure that you're being curious. And by questions, I don't mean asking what are your business plans or what is something you're focusing on in your business right now. Like it's just being curious about them as a person. Like, how was your holiday? Just um or what's something you're really looking forward to or something, or when's the last time you went on vacation, where would you like to go? Like there's so many like questions that you could ask to kind of help you find that common interest to start building that trust. So that kind of just goes back to what we said before, but really making sure like that is a really authentic and genuine way to get to know your community.
Absolutely, and that's what you want, building that community and getting to know them actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Isabel, I want to make sure that we covered everything that you wanted to add to this conversation. So is there anything else that we left out?
No, I've covered all my points. What about you? Is there anything you want to add?
No, I think this is a fabulous conversation. For those who watch, like, please reach out to us. We would love to hear how
Mhm.
it went with our little challenges.
Exactly, I want to know.
Yeah, I know my DMs are always open. I'm sure the same for you as well, Isabel. And um,
Absolutely.
definitely, if you have further questions, we want to be there for you and to help you. So definitely reach out. And Isabel, how can people like work with you if they wanted to know more? Because you're a social media manager, so you help them sell through their content.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to work with me, I have strategy packages where you can basically book a call with me and we map out your entire content strategy, or you can hand over your entire social media management to me and I'll take over. I like to keep it very simple. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely reach out. Yeah. And how can people work with you, Rachel?
Well, I first want to say I have known Isabel, gosh, I feel like we connected almost a year ago. And
Yeah.
I admire you for how hardworking you are. And you really do put a lot of intention behind what you do. And you're very detailed and thoughtful with what you do. So I know that all of your clients are well taken care of in their social media strategy. And you are very well versed in Pinterest and Instagram. And I know that what you have to say is very genuine and very knowledgeable, and you do take it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as me, I do offer one-on-one coaching, and I'm about to launch a new newsletter where I'm going to share sales tips once a month. So if you are looking for more challenges and tips, like definitely make sure to reach out and let's get you on the newsletter. And it's all free. So who doesn't love that? And yeah, so
That's exciting, exciting news.
oh, thank you. Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here and thank you for the conversation. I feel like I learned so much and I can't wait to start implementing some of it. So thank you so, so much, Isabel.
Thank you for hosting.
Yes. All right. We'll chat later.
Okay, bye.